Well, good evening, everybody. Good Friday evening. How's everybody? Rod back with you again. Thought I would do a video. Uh, Made a little change into my side-by-side shotgun collection. Uh, as you guys know, I keep them for a bit, fire a couple of rounds. If I like them to the point where I'd like to keep them, I keep them. If not, well, they move on to another owner. And sometimes you trade or just sell outright. So what I did this time, I spoke to a gentleman on the gun post, and collector of German shotguns, and he seen my post, he liked it, messaged me, we talked back and forth for a few days, and we hashed out a bargain deal. So he ended up with my shotgun, and in turn I received some funding, and I received another shotgun as partial trade. So what I received, typically not a valuable nor uncommon gun. Basically a meat and potatoes gun, as I call them, a Belgian workhorse. People underrate them. If they're in good sound shape, honestly, they shoot just as good as the big boys in my mind. They're just not as pretty as some of the other stuff. And I've got some nice examples of shotguns from various countries like Sweden, England, Belgium, and I've had some from the States before. But all in all, I've got a French one here. And the Belgian ones are sort of the more utilitarian, not quite as finely finished, but they're usable, and that's the main thing. Open them up, pop 2 shells in, go hunting, pull the hammer back, pull the trigger, and if you do your part, you're getting your bird, or you're getting your rabbit, or maybe a deer if you're lucky enough with a lead ball or a slug or a buckshot or whatnot. So without further ado, I will show you the topic of this video. This is the Jannsenn Sons Co. Co. Side by side, 12 gauge, hammer double, pistol grip walnut stock. It is missing a butt plate. If anybody knows where I can find one, hit me up. I am going to be making a post on Gun Post under my name, Shotgun Rod. So if you see the post, that's me. And I will be posting the measurements and the screw distances and whatnot, hoping I can find one to match or maybe alter it to fit. So it's likely going to have to be like a metal one from the time period when these were made. I would say it's more on the metal side. All the ones I've seen reference to online all have metallic ones, but a plastic one would fit, and if it would, I'd be happy with it. Like I said, not extremely overly valuable, not a rare piece of any kind, but anyway. So this gun was supposed to have, according to the seller or the trader, Damascus barrels. It even says so on the rib right here. It says fine Damascus. I'll show you in a minute when I flip the camera around. And what this ended up being was a false Damascus gun, where they took an acid and etched a pattern onto the barrels. They did make them into a monoblock, which is the chamber area. You'll see those lines. The barrels are inserted into here. And they did that back then to sort of make a reinforced breech. It was thought that if you put a stronger material here, that you could shoot rounds of higher pressures maybe, or heavier loads. It's like a sales pitch thing. Some companies did great with it. Some companies kind of flopped with it, didn't catch on. But you have to understand, when these guns were made, there's an open view there. When these guns were made, They were designed just to be like meat and potatoes guns, the poor man's hunting gun. You could go on one of the catalogs like A.F. Stoger's, Eaton's, Sears Roebuck, what have you, and you could get like a shotgun, a hunting vest, hat, pair of rubber boots, a shotgun shell belt, and maybe even a couple of boxes of shot shells, plus the gun, for like $12, $15. And I've seen ads like that in those catalogs. This is the kind of gun that they would have featured. Similar items like this. Some of them were hammered, some were hammerless, some were fluid steel, some were Damascus, some were twist. They all varied in prices, like $1 or $2 of each other, you know. But hey, it's whatever a guy could afford back then. So you get yourself a shotgun, go feed the family with it, and you know, and be done with it. But a lot of these guns were used hard and put away wet. They didn't fare out so well. But this one, the bores look good that way, and they look good that way. That's the choke you see right there, guys, not a bulge. That one's choked as well. Bores are shiny and clean. So they falsified Damascus pattern because that was also a sales pitch, that Damascus guns were fancier in the day. They commanded a premium. People would pay more for them because they were fancier. So they would like maybe throw a couple of brass screws or some engraving or maybe some nice checkering and some false Damascus barrels, and maybe instead of $12 for that gun, they might have asked $15 for this gun. And $15 back then, it was a lot of money. That you know, the average working man didn't really make too much money. So to take all that money and just dump it into a gun, it took a while. So that's what this was, average Joe's gun. So when I did receive it, the buyer or seller told me there was a bit of play between the barrels. Like, you get a bit of rattle, you know. Like you go to a gun show, pick up an old double, and it's got some play in it. You know, it's been shot, whatever. This one did, so I alleviated that with a 4,000 thick brass shim. And now you close her, and no play at all, nothing. So I'm going to grab the phone. I'm going to flip these around, and we're going to have a better look at it. Oops. Pardon my lovely camera work. And 3, 2, 1, presto, changeo. Look at that, magic trick. So here we are. The Jannsenn Sons Co. Little fish here. A little bit of borderline. Not very extravagant checkering. A little floral there. Firing pins and bushings are great. And a little floral engraving there. The ribs got some engraving. Here's where you'll see the barrels going into these monoblock chambers, so to speak. I'm going to move you down. Choke board. Also choke board. You'll see the rib says fine Damascus. And if you look right like here, you'll see the pattern that was etched on. It is right there. But what you don't see are welds. And then the barrels were, you know, made with welded strips of metal, hammered and forged over and over, and there's no weld marks. So this was a acid etched pattern. I don't know if they used a stencil or not, but they could have. And they made these barrels appear to be of a better quality, high-end Damascus barrel. And it was a sales pitch, like I said. And as you see down here, you still see the pattern, but as we get down, it starts to disappear. So like down here, see? So the pattern is wearing off. So if I was to steel wool this and drop acid on it, or vinegar, the pattern, if it was real Damascus, should come back through. You should see the outline where the iron's at. And that being said, test was done and it failed. So these are not true Damascus barrels, even though Rib says so. This is a sales pitch. So again, budget gun and something to sell. So normally these guns didn't fare so well on the sides here. They used to get thin and crack here really bad. Side locks are known for it. This is a scratch here. This is not a crack. I already had this all apart, checked it out. They're normally cracked all to poop down in here, and this one's not. It's got some patina on there. It's old enough too. This gun was probably made around the 1900, 1910-ish mark. Again, there you are. Jannsenn Sons Co. Same engraving. Brass screw. Matching hammers. Firing pin and bushing are in good shape. Nice fit and finish of the lock. Checkering is to be expected. You know, a little bit of wear, but it's still present. The trigger guard still fits decent. No bends. No chips missing out of the pistol grip area. Added bonus. We go down. The little vanity plate is missing. We can't win them all, guys. I'll probably put something in there. Walnut's not in bad shape. And again, it's fit pretty darn good up in the tang area. So I'm going to pick up the gun here and give it like a little vertical view. As you see here, there's your splinter forend with the release, pull out, and wedge fastened. I don't know if you can see a little bit of that Damascus fake looking pattern there. You can see it there. And yeah, there it is. You can see it now up on top of the where it says fine Damascus. You can see it there. There's your monoblocks. You see where they go in. And just like you said, typical old Belgian workhorse. Nothing at all fancy, guys. Is what it is. So I am going to flip these back around for a moment. Right here. And I'm going to remove the forend right quick. Take the barrels off and show you the proof marks underneath. So we'll flip her over. I'm gonna take my little screwdriver and flip the latch up. Take it off. As such, forend's in pretty darn good shape, no cracks. Little splinter end on it there. And the metal's got some case color showing on it. I mean, it's not the fanciest gun in the world, fellas. So I'm not going to complain for what I got invested into it. There's a better view of the forend, some checkering, whatnot, still present. Finish is decent. We're gonna leave it like that. Might rub some a little linseed oil or something on it later on down the road, or some paste wax and shine it up. So I'm gonna take the barrels off. Give you a little visual receiver faces, firing pin holes, flash holes. And there's the kickoff for the extractor. You see it there? And Move the top lever and you can see the bite moving back and forth on the back side there. That's what holds the barrels down. But all in all, not a bad old gun. There is like a little dry crack here in the wood, kind of adds character. I like it. I don't really have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with the gun at all. It's going to be a solid shooter. So chambers are 2 3/4 in this gun. I did measure them. Chokes are improved cylinder and a little, not quite the modified. I checked with my buddy's choke gauge. He's got the little brass insert gauge that goes in, and it's not quite modified, so it just lies somewhere. So I'm going to call it modified anyway. So we're going to see improved cylinder and modified. So that being said, I did have to put a shim in the hook. There was some play, like I mentioned, so I used some brass shim stock in a can. It's a 6-inch wide roll and it's 100 inches long. That's what the can says, and it's 4 thousandths in thickness, solid brass. So what you do is you take a pair of scissors and you cut a small piece, shape it into the hook of the barrels, which is right here. And I don't know if you can see inside there, but that brass shim is in there, right there. So it takes up the slack that was there, and you had a little bit of a rattle to the gun. There was a little bit of play here, a little wear. The bite area was in good order. I didn't have to do anything to it. The gun locks down tight. There's no play up and down. The play was this way, so that's on the knuckle. So we tightened it up, we addressed that. Better look at the bores. They're a little dirty because I fired the primers. I did not clean them out yet, but trust me, they shine more than that, believe it or not. I'm happy. Another view there. That's the choke you see there. That little dull ring, it's in both barrels. That's how they used to make these guns back then. They used to choke bore them. They used to chase a reamer down inside so far and then hone the bores a little bit to open up a portion of this here to give your degree of choke restriction. They usually start about right back here. So all in all, you want to check your gun for tight ribs. They ring nice, no dead thud, so our ribs are solid. I'm going to grab the camera and I'm going to show you the proof marks under here. So I'm going to pick you up and I'm going to do one of my magic tricks again. Bibbidi bobbidi boo, some proof marks I have to show you. Poof, look at that. Proof marks. So I'm going to just set these down here if I can and steady them up. So your first one there, ELG Crown, that's your Liege proof mark in Belgium. 12C in a diamond indicates 12 gauge chambered gun. The Tower of Piran, I guess you could, I think it's an inspector's mark or an observation mark. You've got your first and second black powder proofing. You've got choke constriction on both bores. And this is your nominal bore, 18.2 millimeters, which was standard. Now, normally when these are choked, it'll give the degree of your choke over the bore diameter nominal. So like it'll say, let's say if it was 18.0 over 18.2, you know, that would be indicating a degree of choke. This time around, it's just showing 18.2 and 18.2, which in my mind would tell me the cylinder bore on both barrels. But according to my friend's gauge, that's not the case. But who knows? This thing was proofed many moons ago. So again, the proof marks on this barrel are pretty much in tune with the other side. There's a star with a G, I think, or a D. Can't quite make that out. I'll have to clean it out some more, but A little bit of a number here. Don't know what that is. Like I said, I know these are just plain Jane working man's guns. No big fancy whatchamahoosis with them. But there is a better view of that false Damascus pattern. You see it right there? But there's no welds. The welds aren't showing. So I did a spot test with some vinegar. That's even better view right there. I could not get any pattern after I polished a little spot to come back. So I also showed this on the Shotgun World website, and you see right where my thumb's at, the pattern shell is gone. It's like rubbed off. Now I know this is underneath the forend, and you're all gonna say, well, that usually stays there. In a sense, you're correct, but these are not real Damascus barrels. They are what they call faux Damascus, and they use that process to make a cheap gun look expensive. And it was a selling feature, and you know what? It fooled a lot of people. A lot of people bought these guns thinking they got a fancy old gun. So anyhow, that being said, still a solid old gun, guys. I'm not complaining one bit about this. I'm happy with it. And I'm going to flip you back over. 3, 2, 1. There I am. And I'm going to put you back on the holder for a moment. Hoping to get out and do a shooting test with this, or a function test. I did try primers. They went off, no issues. Nice solid strikes. I was happy with that. You know, all said and good. So I'm going to show you the barrels going back on the action. The shim is held in with green Loctite. That can be removed. It just adds a little bit of security, so when I take the barrels off, the shim doesn't fall out. So usually when you shim them, this will last a good long while. If you're not a big time shooter, this will probably last the life of the gun. It's back tight on face, perfectly tight on face. So we're gonna insert the barrels back on the breech face here. She's tight and no rattle, no play, the way it should be. And we're gonna snap the forend back on. Snaps on, nice and tight, no play. I'll tell you what, the forend on this thing was tighter than the forend on my Churchill, and that's pretty darn sad when an old Belgian beast as such has tighter fit tolerances than a quality Turkish piece made in the last couple of years that you paid $1,400 for. Well, I personally didn't pay $1,400 for it, but somebody did, because that's what they retail for. But look what you got here, you know, tight as can be. So I will be shooting this. I'm going to try and make a video once I get out on my buddy's property, or I go to the range and I got lots of ammo that I can try in it. I don't think I'll be shooting magnums through it, but you know what, guys, this is still a solid old hunting shotgun, minus a butt pad, but I knew that. So can't have all your meat and potatoes and eat them too, but you got the meat and potatoes gun. So all in all, decent trade. He's happy, I'm happy. I got a few bucks, I got a gun, he got his gun, he's happy. So that's what it's all about, you know. You move things around, different guns, different styles, different types, and I think this one's going to make a decent addition to my collection. So we're going to go with that for now, and as you can see, nice original condition. Like I said, it's just like a survivor gun, something that held out well over the course of time. It's the same as my 16 gauge. My very first video I made was with my 16 gauge Belgian hammer gun with the twist barrels on it, and that was a real nice, solid, true survivor gun that wasn't restored. Beautiful patterns on the barrels, nice wood, and overall good old gun. And I shot, lots of rounds through it so far, and going great. So still got all my fingers. So that being said, guys, thank you for watching. Any questions on the old Jannsenn? Or if one of my Canadian viewers happens to see one of my posts on gun posts, look me up as Shotgun Rod. I'm going to put a post with the dimensions for the butt plate, and if somebody might have something kicking around, by all means message me, and I would be willing to look at what you got and try and make something work. I would prefer a metallic one. Now there's nothing on the top, like this is just flat cut. There's no recess in here, so it's just basically a flat shotgun style butt plate, 2 screws, typical, and yeah, just something there to absorb a little bit of recoil, I guess you could, so you don't get the sharp edges of the wood jabbing you right in the shoulder. I mean, I don't think it would bother for a few shots, but that might hurt after a while, So, thanks for watching, guys. As always, I appreciate everybody watching my videos. I appreciate the comments, and I look forward to hearing from you, and hope you all have a great weekend, and be safe out there, guys. And like I said, comment down below, like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Maybe in the next one, me and Mr. Jannsenn will be out testing some patterns, or maybe what pattern's nicer, black powder loads or smokeless loads, fiber loads or plastic shot cup loads. Not as determined that this is actually a fluid steel barrel gun. I'm not going to hesitate by shooting appropriate level smokeless powder loads in it. I know some are going to say it's a black powder proof shotgun, yada yada yada, but the loads that I would be using through there would be dead on comparable to black powder pressures. A little blurb about that before I let you go here. When we talk low pressures, everybody thinks these days that, when you go to your local hardware stores and you see these cheapy things, Winchester Universals, or you see Federal Top Gun or Remington gun clubs and something of that nature, ounce and an 8 target and trap loads and skeet loads, people automatically assume that, oh, that's just a skeet shell that's safe to shoot in all the old guns. No, it's not, guys. Get that out of your head, okay? Some of those loadings, like in this, okay, here's a factory loaded Universal Winchester number 8 shot trap, 1 1/8 ounce, or skeet 1 1/8 ounce that you get in the bulk packs. And that being said, these can generate up to like 10,000 psi, 11,000 psi in some cases. They're not low pressure. They might be light payload, and they might not feel like they're making a lot of pressure, but the type of gunpowder and the components used in this 2 3/4 inch shot shell will fit in said gun, and it would shoot. But a steady diet of it, what's going to happen is it going to make the gun blow apart? Probably not, but I'll be making another brass shim a lot sooner if I do that, because it'll loosen up the gun. It adds undue stress to the action of the gun, maybe start causing splits back here and excess recoil or whatnot. So it's an old gun. It comes from an old era, an old time, when you had cartridges as such. The old roll crimp. This is original. Canuck, Dominion, 2 3/4 inch, Grandpa's old duck loads. This is the type of shells that those fellas were shooting in there. And back then, I know guys said the shells kicked like a horse, like a Burmese mule, but the pressures were down. The types of powders they used, it was like the evolution to change from black powder into smokeless, so it was like a transition period there. And that's where this thing kind of fits in. This didn't come into the Magnum era. This was like field load, standard pressures, 5,500 to 7,500, 8,000 psi. That's what these things were proofed at. Actually, the proof loadings were more than that, but the standard field load, service load, was probably around the 6,500 to 7,500 psi. And if you shot that pressure of shell through this for the gun's life and you maintained it, lubricated it, and took care of it, chances are this thing would not shoot loose at all, or not very much. And 4,000 shim tightened this back up from a rattle. So little blurb there on low pressure and appropriate ammunition for the type of gun you have. And you know, don't go running big fast magnums. Certainly no steel shot, guys. That the steel shot construction that we have these days, like the pellets, are made of stronger steels than these barrels are. So when those pellets come in contact with these barrels, you get scoring and scratching, and you can actually ruin a nice shotgun. Actually, if the chokes are tight, you can bulge them and split them and ruin the gun, period. Not a big fan of doing that, guys. I'm advising you not to do it. I wouldn't do it. Don't do it. So lead shot, bismuth shot, standard pressures, low pressure smokeless, black powder, A1 in this, and you can have yourself some fun out there with your old Belgian workhorse. I'll leave you at that. I'm sorry for going a little long here, half hour. It's the way I like to explain things. I like to keep everybody on the same playing field. I like to explain myself as I go along so nobody's lost or concerned or have confusions. So any questions, message down below. I'm going to try and get on some fast internet and upload this maybe this evening or tomorrow. And guys, have a great weekend. Be safe out there, and look forward to some shooting videos with old Mr. Jannsenn here. Or Jannsenn, sorry. Jannsenn Sons Co. Belgian workhorse double, newly acquired, at rods vintage side by sides. And that's it. Ciao for now.